Everyone says, Yashin is the best goalkeeper in the history of football. Man, it's bizarre to hear this in full, but if it's said, it means we have a reason. Therefore, I went to research the history of the legendary Black Spider. My name is Brunox, and let's go to another video. Lev Yashin was a Soviet goalkeeper widely considered the best in history. An eternal idol of Dynamo Moscow, the only club he played for throughout his career, Yashin also stood out as the greatest national champion of his time. In 1963, he became the only goalkeeper to win the magazine's prestigious Ballon d'Or. France football, along with wrestler Alexander Karelin and multi-sport athlete Vsevolod Bobrov, Yashin has been recognized as one of the all-time greats in Russian sports. Nicknamed the Black Spider because of his completely black uniform, Yashin was recognized for his agility, impeccable positioning, imposing stature, courage and acrobatic reflexes, always sober and without ostentation. He was a pioneer in the revolution in the goalkeeper position, imposing his authority over the entire defense and also standing out for his ability to make long and precise throws with his hands. In goal, his vocal presence was remarkable, commanding his defenders, leaving the small area to intercept crosses and closing opponents' angles, an innovative stance for the time, when goalkeepers used to remain static on the goal line, waiting for action. Even in a more nervous era for goalkeepers, Yashin stood out for his unusual calmness. His performances for the Soviet national team left a lasting impression, especially at a time when Dynamo's achievements were less publicized internationally due to the climate of isolation during the Cold War. Soviet clubs only started participating in UEFA tournaments in 1965, when Yashin was already a veteran and had already won most of his titles. The last of their 5 Soviet championships was in 1963. After that, Dynamo would win the national title only once more in 1976, even considering the post-Soviet Union era. During his career, Dynamo, under Yashin, achieved important victories in international friendlies, including a 5-0 victory against Arsenal in 1954, 4-1 against Milan in 1955 at the San Siro, and an unbeaten record against Vasco da Gama. In 1970, Dinamo also defeated Barcelona 5-0 at Camp Nou for the Joan Gamper Trophy. Among his main titles are the gold medal at the 1956 Olympic Games and winning the 1960 European Nations Cup, the year in which he was personally approached by Santiago Bernabeu to play for Real Madrid. Yashin was also present at 4 FIFA World Cups, with emphasis on the 1958 editions, when he was considered by the newspaper sports world as the successor of Ricardo Zamora. In 1966, when, at the age of 37, he was elected the best goalkeeper of the tournament by the Brazilian newspaper. After his retirement in 1971, Yashin was honored by FIFA with a special gold medal, in recognition of his extraordinary contribution to sport. This was just one of the many recognitions he received during and after his career, being widely considered the best goalkeeper of the 20th century. According to FIFA, Yashin saved more than 150 penalties in professional football and remained unbeaten in 270 games. Yashin's passion for football was made clear in a statement about one of the greatest feats in human history: the journey of Soviet astronaut Yuri Gagarin, the first human being to travel into space, on April 12, 1961. Shortly afterwards, Yashin said, "The joy of seeing Gagarin in space is surpassed only by the joy of a good penalty save." Both were remembered together in a 1999 Russian chronicle, which stated, "No matter what they say today, we had a great time, because no one, not even the most fanatical hater of our country, will dare say that symbols of 20th century Russia, like Yuri Gagarin or Lev Yashin, were slaves or an invention of Soviet propaganda. It was Gagarin and Yashin who personified the 2 most admired sides of the Russian character." His characteristic all-black uniform would have been adopted in 1955, according to a statement given 10 years later by Yashin himself to the Sports Journal, "When I was on vacation in Rio de Janeiro." At the time, he explained his reasons, frowny face 28. "I think my dark and unattractive uniform allows the goalkeeper to be seen less by opposing attackers. Furthermore, I believe that light clothing or even another color even bright, allows a better target for the kicker. In short, it attracts more attention from those who attack us. I think I must be right in my choice. After I started dressing in black, Bera and Saskic, yes, Yugoslavia, Gros, yes, Hungary, and Shraj, yes, Czechoslovakia, but I didn't want to know about any other color. 28. In the same interview, he highlighted that since implementing such a look, he would have made a single exception, as it was the special occasion of England versus rest of the world in 1963, 28, in which the black on the shorts and socks was accompanied by a yellow shirt. 29. Yashin's cool attitude in goal, something unusual by the standards of the time, would have been maintained throughout his career thanks to a peculiar ritual he followed before important games. At these moments, the goalkeeper smoked a cigarette to calm his nerves and took a shot of vodka to tone his muscles. However, in 1971 he debunked this myth, stating, "There's a lot of love, the love that we should all have for the things we do. The love that always drove me to train hard, that never let me drink or smoke, and that never allowed me to accept a goal conceded as something normal. Without love, there's no success. And if the love ends, the athlete ends, even if he is only in his early 20s. His physical fitness was considered exceptional for the time. Josef Sabo, Yashin's teammate at the 1966 World Cup, highlighted, "Everyone contributed to our success, but Yashin and Varnen deserve special praise. You need to see him not only in games, but also in training. One athlete, how he excited us, how he worked on the goal until the last moment of exhaustion, saving dozens of difficult shots in a row. Young goalkeepers should learn from Yashin, especially about hard and heroic work. Only in this way can true love for football be expressed." Varnen also praised, "I never tire of admiring Yashin. His ability to give his all at the right moment is simply phenomenal." Yashin even downplayed his reputation as a specialist in defending penalties. In 1967, he declared to the sports world, "Without wanting to offend my fellow goalkeepers, I would say that a saved penalty is more of an attacker's failure than a goalkeeper's feat if the attacker is someone like Eusebio. There is no goalkeeper who can stop a ball that close." The beginning of his career was marked by questions, but in 1953, by dedicating himself to special physical training, Yashin rose quickly in 1954. His commitment to the athletic discipline was evident in his words in 1983 to the magazine The Graphic. "A goalkeeper is synonymous with good reflexes, and that implies intense training sessions." As for his famous cool stance, he admitted to Sports World in 1967 that, although he appeared calm, he actually felt anxiety. "A good goalkeeper always feels restless, although he does not express his state of mind. Rivals must not know this." In 1969, he reinforced, "Only bad sportsmen are not nervous before important matches. What matters is that the enemy doesn't notice." Yashin also knew how to use psychological pressure to his advantage, creating an aura of intimidation in his opponents, which helped facilitate some of his saves, whether penalties or not. In 1981, the Brazilian magazine Score promoted an election to choose the best team in the history of football, and Yashin was chosen as goalkeeper, receiving 33 of the 70 possible votes. The article highlighted that it was not enough to just throw oneself at the ball. It was necessary to dominate the opponent, to inhibit him to the point of making him miss seemingly easy goals. Yashin, in turn, stated that famous interventions, such as the defense against Lejos Tichy in 1959, did not happen by chance. They were the result of a lot of training, physical and psychological. He also taught, a goalkeeper should never apologize for the goals he concedes, nor should he try to blame his teammates. He must play with lucidity, so that his fellow defenders have faith in him. Only then will he be taken seriously, and each error will be analyzed rigorously. In 1999, The Score published a special edition listing the 100 greatest players of the 20th century, and Yashin ranked 11th. In that article, he stated, "The greatest quality of a goalkeeper is to intuit the actions of an attacker. In this way, he can destroy him psychologically." In 1994, Vladimir Maslachenko, his substitute in the 1962 World Cup, revealed that Yashin generated a complex in opponents and even in coaches who feared not playing the goalkeeper, even when he did not appear to be in his best form, in addition to causing fear in referees who were inhibited from sanctioning his infractions or protests. In 1969, Yashin recognized how the tactical evolution of football in the 1960s had forced him to modify his style. He explained, "I don't make as many runs as I used to, because the game has changed. In the past, the fullbacks and central defender played very far from each other, and these spaces between them favored the opponents to make deep passes. That's why I sometimes left very far from the goal. But since the adoption of the 4-2-4 and 4-3-3 systems and the introduction of the sweeper, the goalkeeper now finds himself behind a very solid defense. It is no longer necessary to leave so far from the goal area." One of Yashin's innovations was to constantly coordinate his teammates, especially in defense. Defender Vladimir Ponomarov, his 1966 World Cup teammate, praised this ability, saying, "We felt a lot of confidence when Yashin was in goal. And the most important thing was not that he saved the team in desperate situations, but the fact that he commanded the defense impeccably. He didn't shout aggressively or desperately, but gave precise and timely guidance. Yashin only gave advice when it was really needed. Yashin did not limit himself to giving instructions only to the defense. On some occasions, he also guided more offensive players, which led to some friction. Anatoly Banishevsky, another teammate at the 1966 World Cup, recalled in 1993 that, as a young man, he was uncomfortable with Yashin's instructions on how to play the ball, which led to a confrontation. However, Yashin recognized the temper of Banishevsky, a player from Baku, and the situation was resolved with mutual respect, resulting in a lasting friendship. As football evolved physically and the aspects that Yashin introduced to the game became common among goalkeepers, questions arose about his legacy. In 1969, Argentine goalkeeper Amadeo Carrizo commented, in a private conversation, that Yashin never completely convinced him, despite appreciating him as a person. Already in the 1980s, some critics began to doubt whether Yashin would be a starter in a contemporary football team, due to a certain heaviness and dependence on his position. While today goalkeepers with these qualities also have great elasticity and precision when releasing the ball. Even at his peak, Yashin faced internal criticism. Dynamo defender Vladimir Glotov questioned the team's dependence on his presence in goal, suggesting that without the defensive wall supporting him, his efficiency would be compromised. In 1964, the Sports Journal already pointed out that, although Yashin was excellent, Dynamo's defense, with players like Eduard Mudryk, Vladimir Glotov, Viktor Anichkin, and Georgy Ryabov, also deserved to be highlighted. Over the years, Yashin's image was questioned, especially in the media. In 2001, a column in Score, it suggested that he was more of a legend fueled by imagination than by the evidence of his defenses, since at the time there were not many live game broadcasts. In 2005, the same magazine ranked him as the 23rd greatest player in the history of FIFA World Cups, while others, such as Oleg Blokin, were recognized as the greatest stars of the former USSR. Even in Russia in 2010, there was disagreement over Yashin's status as the greatest player in the country's history. In a poll of Russian sports journalists, he was voted number 1, but some voters did not even place him in the top 5. In 2008, however, the portal Trivela recognized Yashin's importance by highlighting that there would not be an Edwin van der Sar, recently European champion with Manchester United, if it weren't for Yashin, highlighting the lasting impact of his innovative style on world football. Lev Yashin began his career in football in 1949, initially as a striker, but was soon redirected to goal after a suggestion from a coach. His debut for Dynamo Moscow's first team came in 1950, but his rise to first-choice goalkeeper came later, in 1953, after a series of good performances for the reserve team. His growth was gradual, with many questions at first, until he definitely stood out with his skill and unique style, becoming Dynamo's starting goalkeeper and, soon after, one of the most outstanding goalkeepers in world football. Yashin was largely responsible for a successful era for Dynamo Moscow. He won the Soviet Championship 5 times, 1954, 1955, 1957, 1963, and 1964. During his time at the club, he was essential in keeping the team strong, being considered a pillar of the defense. In addition to the national championships, Yashin also won the Soviet Union Cup in 1953, 1964, and 1970, which further expanded his importance and legacy at the club. Dynamo Moscow also enjoyed success in other local and regional competitions during Yashin's time, establishing the team as one of the strongest in the Soviet Union, thanks in large part to the goalkeeper's exceptional performances. Yashin was essential not only for his ability to defend, but also for his innovations in goal, such as leaving his area to cut out crosses and directing his defense. His imposing presence and quick reflexes made him one of the greatest names in football history, consolidating him as an icon both at Dynamo and in world football. Lev Yashin made history in 1963 by becoming the only goalkeeper to win the Ballon d'Or, award given by the magazine France Football to the best player in the world. This feat was a milestone in the history of football, as until then, the award was dominated by attackers and midfielders. Yashin's victory represented a revolution in the recognition of a goalkeeper's abilities and the importance of the position in the global context of football. His achievement was not only a personal victory, but also an affirmation that goalkeepers deserve maximum recognition in the sport, not only for the number of saves, but for the influence and protagonism they could have in the game. Yashin's Ballon d'Or win had a significant impact on world football's perception of goalkeepers. Before Yashin, the goalkeeper position was often seen as a more passive role, with goalkeepers often waiting to be called into action. However, Yashin revolutionized the role of the goalkeeper, making him an active player in the defensive organization and even initiating counterattacks with his precise throws. He was also a pioneer in leaving his area to intercept crosses and cut plays, a behavior that would later become common among elite goalkeepers. His win at the France Football served as a turning point for football, expanding understanding of the importance of the position and opening doors for future innovations and evolutions in the role. Yashin's legacy transcended the borders of the Soviet Union and European football. His Ballon d'Or victory and dominance on the pitch set a standard of excellence that has inspired generations of goalkeepers around the world. After his retirement, he received a number of recognitions for his contribution to global football. FIFA, in particular, made a point of celebrating him, nominating him to the Team of the Century in 1998 and for the Millennium Team in 2000. These recognitions were a reflection of his importance not only in Soviet football, but also on the international stage, solidifying his position as one of the greatest players of all time. Yashin's impact on the sport was lasting, especially in the development of the goalkeeper position. He became a source of inspiration for generations of future goalkeepers, being seen as a model of leadership, technique, and innovation. Goalkeepers such as Peter Schmeichel, Gianluigi Buffon, and Iker Casillas, among others, recognized the example set by Yashin, both for his ability to remain calm under pressure and for his ability to command the defense. Yashin also set a standard of physical and mental preparation for goalkeepers, showing that hard work, tactical intelligence, and the ability to anticipate plays were fundamental to success in the position. His influence continues to be felt in goalkeeping schools around the world, with his style and innovation still being studied and admired by new talent.